I grew up in a church that was very, very legalistic. I had an extremely legalistic, narcissistic, emotionally abusive mother who followed, just all of this ideology of just that Christianity is not a relationship. It is just a system, a cold, dead system of following rules. And that did not work for me at all. And so I rebelled against that for many, many years. And so yeah, admittedly, I had a very bad experience in legalistic church. But now a lot of people do find Jesus in legalistic church. That's where I learned about the Bible. So they're not all bad. These legalistic churches, I know I'm harping on legalistic churches all the time, but they are filled with people who really are Christians, okay? Because they are teaching, they are saying the right things. They are teaching about the Bible. But for people who what they're doing is putting themselves back under the law, like we talked about last week. So they are fixated, these legalistic minded people, legalistic churches, they are fixated only on the external things. So they are only looking at behavior. Okay, so they're looking at the way you dress, the way you wear your hair, the way you talk, the things you do, like what kind of movies you watch, what kind of music you listen to. There's usually a long, long list of don'ts. Like in the church I went to, you couldn't dance, you couldn't drink alcohol. You could not even laugh too hard. Like our mother would get mad at us if we laughed too hard, because Christianity thing's not supposed to be fun. God forbid. It's not fun. It's just work. That's how she was. Of course, I rebelled against that. I like to laugh. So anyway, these people, they just fixate on the rules, and a lot of them, they're not bad people necessarily. They just don't know anything different. They were like me as I grew up. They haven't heard about anything else, and so what they are doing is they are putting themselves back under the law that Jesus came to set us free from. And so they are, whether they are cognizant of it or not, they are actually trying to save themselves by being really good at following rules. By all of this surface stuff. It's very similar to the way the religious leaders were in Jesus' day when Jesus came. They had turned the Mosaic law, which was definitely a lot of rules, but it was God's invitation to relationship with God. We talked about this last week, and they had turned it into just this cold, dead system of rules. And then they added all their own rules on top of it, so that by the time Jesus showed up on the scene, it was just this cold, dead, just mind-numbing, soul-killing, back-breaking system that was not saving anybody. And it was turning people into monsters, because think about how the Pharisees were. The Pharisees were the ones who were arranged to have Jesus murdered. And so trying to follow these cold, dead, soul-killing systems of rules, that turns people into monsters. And one of the reasons why it does that is because these are people who are trying desperately to follow this system that is impossible. Because the only way you can save yourself by following rules is if you never, ever, ever make a mistake. You can never, not once, make a mistake or sin. That's the only way that it can work. And you know as well as I do that none of us are perfect. None of us are without sin. So this system, putting yourself back under the law and trying to save yourself by following rules, it cannot work. It never works. And that's why these people a lot of times are miserable. That's why they're so hateful. That's why they are so, a lot of times, very judgmental, very narrow-minded. And they don't understand the grace and the mercy and the forgiveness of Jesus Christ, because they're not experiencing it themselves. So they can't give that to anybody else. That's why they have no grace or mercy or forgiveness for other people. And it is just a miserable, miserable way to live. That's why I'm talking about it so much, because I lived under that yoke of law myself for many years. And I really tried. I love Jesus. I got saved when I was 6 years old, and I could not do it. It does work for some people. For some people who are just naturally rule followers, they can live that way and they can do fine. But not me. That's not how God made me to be. I need more depth. I need relationship. And that is what I have found now. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.